How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome in. Special episode. It's summer. We don't have a set schedule. We're going to do what we want. Obviously, y'all know we're covering the AUSL. Super excited for the Athletes Unlimited Softball League starting up this weekend. If you have not watched our full preview, it is on the last episode. We wrapped up the season. But hey, got a special guest on, one of my good friends, one of my good mentors in athletic communication. He was there when it was very raw. I mean, just flat out just trying to figure out this world of sports media at the 2022 NAIA Softball World Series. It is Brad Cygan, he was a former director of athletic communications at the NAIA, did a great job there in Kansas City, now doing a great job at Presto Sports as a director of marketing. Brad, how are we doing today, boss?
Man, we're good. It's a little rainy here in KC, but man, it's such a good time to talk NAI softball because we're just coming off of the pinnacle of NAI softball, right? The World Series, and I spent a lot of years covering that specific event, both on site and back at the home office. But it's really excited to be on here to talk to you about it and talk to you about kind of a little bit more about what's going on around NAI softball world.
Well, we missed you, man. I mean, my first two World Series I covered, you were there. Last two, it's been Brett McCall who stepped up. He's done a really good job stepping into that role of the national office. I know Steve Wilson stepping in as well. Excited to see the direction he's going to take the role there in Kansas City. But man, it's such an electric event. You get 18 games this year. I got 19 games. First time I got to witness that, a true national championship game, how it's all run. Abby with the national office, we've said it multiple times. She does a good job on the championship side of things there. And with softball, with outdoor sports, there was rain. The last 2 years, they've done a good job, field crew, everything. But just the overall product of college softball, Brad, it was Nick Rule, who was a commissioner of the Heart of America Conference. He asked a really good question to some umpires. He was like, "Hey, how does this compare to NCAA softball?" And the umpire said, "Look, we were just working the MAC tournament. It's really not that different. It's very similar level all around." And you see it with not only what's on the field, but in the viewership. This was the first national championship or softball national championship at the NAIA level covered by Urban Edge Network. And I thought they did a really good job. They released their numbers, just under 900,000 people tuned into that. You look at baseball, it had like 2.4 million people tuning in. So you see the diamond sports, the NAIA really starting to get a big brand, a lot of recognition around it. And it's really cool to see it happen.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, number one, because that all gets kind of spawned by people taking interest in it from a media perspective. And you started to see it with baseball, with NAI ball, and how good of product that they were putting out there for so many years. And then you've got NAISB. It really brought a more national attention to NAI softball. And I think that national attention, you're starting to actually see what you probably couldn't see without an entity like NAISB, right? You guys are doing such great stuff, and now you start to see those numbers because it for me it's rewarding to see those numbers because now the broadcasts are free. Now people don't have a reason to not tune in. They don't want to not pay. They're not having to pay $5 a game or $10 a game or whatever it was. They can go in there and watch it for free and really enjoy the product, really enjoy the brand, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and it's not just like, hey, here's one camera set up behind center field or one camera. It's multiple
Yeah.
cameras. I believe they have five or six. I know they had four stationary cameras and another guy moving around to get those unique shots that you see when you turn on the College Softball World Series on ESPN. And like I said, it's free, which I know a lot of people have been fighting for that for a while, and we see the rewards of it. And hey, advertisers like it too, right? So there's a bottom line effect that I'm sure the national office enjoys that aspect of it too. but no, it's great. I love what Hardy with Urban Edge Network, what they've done and will continue to do, and bring it to other sports and see how it grows the NAIA overall. And I don't know if you saw this; it just got announced. This one got announced this morning, the other one got announced yesterday. But Urban Edge Network partnering with the Southern States and with the Heart of America, as someone that is familiar with that world. What do you kind of see? Where do you see that going, and how is that going to benefit those two conferences?
Well, I mean, there's all kinds of ways it's going to benefit them. You start with ad revenue. Urban Edge does a great job of getting that revenue and making it beneficial to be free, which is exactly what I think the NEI was kind of hoping for in a nice media rights deal, and they got it there. And I'll be honest, for as many years as I was at the NAIA, I worked so hard to get ESPN to do more high level coverage of it. And I kept hearing the same thing. And I want to make sure fans understand this. ESPN had zero interest in the brand of the NAIA, which was a big reason why the NAIA wanted out of the business of ESPN. They're going to show cornhole at 5 p.m. on an afternoon or during prime time at some points, but they're not showing high level softball, high level baseball, NAIA basketball, those types of things. So having Urban Edge come in and say, we value this product, we value your student athletes, to go out and provide that is awesome. The other part is I'm really not surprised that these conferences are starting to jump on board. It was really a proof of product, right? Just to see, oh, can the NAI, will this work for the NAI? So as soon as it did, now you're going to start seeing some conferences, and these are not small conferences with some schools that you haven't, that maybe most people aren't familiar with. These are bigger conferences. The Heart of America is huge here in the Midwest. It's really based around the Kansas City, Kansas, Nebraska area. And then you've got the Southern States, and Mike Hall does such a good job. You mentioned Nick Rule, and Mike Hall down there, their commissioner, does such a great job of innovating. Those two are really kind of leading the way here with Urban Edge. I think it's awesome. It's going to be great for everybody in the NEI, but most importantly, the student athletes. They're going to
Uh,
get more respect. They're going to be able to be seen more. It's great for their brand.
And I'm interested to see where Urban Edge is going to take this. I mean, we are certainly in talks with them on some things that I'll leave it at that. And Brad, that's called a teaser in the podcast industry. We've got some things we're really excited for, mostly because I really like the product that they put out. But yeah, I want to talk about the product that y'all are putting out with Presto Sports. Man, y'all have got some really big things coming up. I know you wanted to come on here, talk about what's coming on the softball, baseball side of things. Sure, but obviously want to talk about what's happening with softball, what's happening with Presto Sports, because Presto, me just being honest with you, people hear Presto Sports and it's like, how can we make fun of them? I feel like that is something that you see.
Sure.
It's with whatever, and I look at some of the things that you and I have talked about and what's happening with Presto. I'm like, y'all are on the right track, and I think everybody's gonna be really excited about what the future of Presto Sports and how statting, roster sizes, everything, and how that's going to change. So just talk to us about what's different, what's happening, and what's going to be improving with Presto Sports in the future.
Yeah, man. I mean, I totally get it. Number one, I'll always, acknowledge the past. And there's obviously hiccups that go along with signing a major athletics association. This was not normal though. There were some things that were abnormal, and a lot of things that once we really dove into it and had to be corrected. And the one thing I will mention is that from that time that Presto was signed and really got off the ground with the NAIA and other associations and folks, to now, it is a completely different leadership team. And that's why you're starting to see improvements. It takes time to improve tech. It really does. Just ask anybody with it. I mean, we saw, AWS crashed at some point this year, and that lost Spotify, that lost Presto websites, that lost crypto. So it takes time. It takes a
Yep.
lot of investment to get your tech right. So a big thing that we've focused on over the course of the last year and a half was stabilizing the product, making sure that when people go on a Saturday, they can actually see the games. They see the schedules, they see the games, they see live stats, they see everything that they need to see. because that's honestly what they're there for. And that's what all of our customers pay for are those hard days. So we went back to the drawing board in some regards and looked at our database and a lot of different factors. And our development team did a great job of stabilizing the product, making some tough choices in terms of taking some features away for the time being to speed up the process of load times. And now you look at the product, and Reagan, you remember when we were having probably our biggest issues. You would say, Brad, I can't load a team page in less than a minute, which is insane, right? And now you
Yep.
can load them. There's no issues. People are able to load their pages. All things considered, a lot of upgrades have been made there. So that was all kind of the big piece of stabilizing everything, making sure that everything operated correctly. Now it's time that we can start doing product improvements and all the fun stuff that everybody in the tech world likes to do. We love this stuff. So one of the things that we had to do was, and it was a little bit difficult, and for the standard fans, I'm going to get really into depth and tech and stuff, but I'm going to bring it back out. There's a thing called pack files, and these pack files have been around for ages with a different stat provider, and it's kind of become commonplace in the industry. Well, they're starting to go away. So we made the tough choice to eliminate them. The reason we eliminated them is because they're really holding us and the rest of the industry back. So now, with the elimination of them, it's kind of opened up a lot of opportunities. Number one, your SIDs, they don't have to worry about these roster limits anymore. Standard NAIA school is probably going to have more than 40 student athletes in a softball roster. I mean, you've seen it firsthand. I mean, in order
Yep.
to get your discount rate down low enough to where your administration is going to be fine with it, you have to have say your discount rate's 58%. You can give out that many high level scholarships over that and that many below it, but it has to average out. So you have to have a lot more people, especially at NEI D3, D2 level. So that's what we needed to correct for and eliminating that pack file. Now the SIDs don't have to worry about it, which helps the student athlete because they don't have to worry about their stats getting misplaced, not being in the game, not seeing their name in there. It's all going to be in there now. So
So with the
that was a
with
big one.
the with the pack file, what was there anything holding it back from it going away? Like eliminating the pack file, did that mean okay, we're going to lose this and we now have to replace it with something else?
Yeah, I mean, so for the standard person, because it was attributed to this software called Stack Crew, there were a couple of things that it lost. It had some play-by-play data in it, and people like to edit within Stack Crew a lot.
Yep.
So that was one of the big things that we had to start improving is our editing process. So baseball, softball, not as big of a deal. Some other sports, definitely a bigger deal. So we've been working on that. We're unveiling some new products, and that's a lot of that's fixing that. The second thing is that people have their record books in different types of reports all in Stack Group. And that's the fun part that we're really excited about right now because on June 9, which I believe is going to be after this already airs, we're unveiling our record book product. We're finally officially launching it. We've been teasing it online a lot, but the record books are going to be great for student athletes, SIDs, every single school brand because all you need to do, you can take your files, put them in here, put them into our system without needing that pack file. And then if you're using Presto Stats, so say NAIA schools, those are going to get updated. And if they're Presto web user, it's all going to be automatic on their website. So your record books are going to update in real time, and you can see players moving up as the season goes on, which is the exciting part for all of us. The other big piece of that is you're going to be able to have individual game highs. So as a school, you're going to be able to know, well, how many hits in a game is the high for this year? But you can go in and check that. And then it will also show that in your career highs. So you can have that as a career high. If someone had 6 hits in a game, it's probably going to be tied for first in your program, 6, 7, something like that. Well, that'll automatically go in there. So
And
yeah, a lot of exciting things.
And how will fans, players, coaches, etc., how will they go about going and checking these updated record books? So if they know, okay, I have Annalise Rayburn for Oklahoma City, as she's
Yeah.
coming up on 20 something home runs. And by the way, I didn't want to bring her up and give your Missouri Baptist Phantom a little scare. We'll talk about the opening round here in a
Oh, yeah,
minute.
we're definitely going to talk about
Yeah.
that.
But like I said, how will Oklahoma City fan go and say, I want to see how far she is from the RBI record this year at some point in March? Like, what will that process look like? Is that on Presto's website, on the NAIA website, on the school's website, or kind of a combination?
So right now it'll be on the school website. So if Oklahoma City purchases the record book product,
Mhm.
now once they put all of their record files in from the past, and typically every single summer there's an SID behind the scenes that are updating all these. They do this one more time, they update it once, and then it will push over to their website, or we create within our system basically a web page, an HTML web page, and they take that, copy that over to their website. So even if they're not using a Presto website, it's going to show up. So it's all going to be dependent on how often they want to update that. It'll also generate PDFs. So if you're doing, game notes packets or programs that you have different records in, you can always take a snapshot of that and have that show and update. So those are the nice pieces of it because it's really built for a more modern era, right? It's built to make sure you can display it on your website as often as you'd like. So that's the big piece. So we talk about Rayburn, she's moving up in the standings. If I'm an SID, I'm probably going to update our record books if I'm not a Presto Stats or Presto web user once a week. So I can load that file and you can see how she's slowly coming up. And it'll show you when it was last updated. So there's never going to be a question anymore of, oh, well, I guess they haven't updated this recently. You
Correct.
can
That
always
was a
see.
big problem with me with record books. Is like, okay, I would look at one and I'm looking at, oh, I don't want to call anybody, but I look say at whoever's record book, and I'm like, I know a certain player has more career strikeouts
Yeah.
than this player, but it's not there, so that makes it a little difficult there. But it sounds super simple for SIDs, for the athletic department. It's just boom, move the file if they have that package over, and pretty simple. How important is it for you, director of marketing? How important is it for you to be listening to fans, to SIDs, to athletic administration? How do you go about that process of kind of filtering out, like, okay, I want to listen to so and so, and maybe this person, that, or whatever? Like, who are you listening to right now to ultimately create the best product so that Presto will continue to be who pretty much everybody in the NAI uses?
That's a great question because it's a huge part of what we do. You can't create in a vacuum. And I'm sure you've heard that before, but especially when you're creating new technology, new products that people use every day, you can't do it in a vacuum. You have to get the people on the ground that really work in this every day. So we're lucky enough to know a lot of these people from around the industry, and a lot of them will email us and say, "Hey, we've got an issue with your prop, with your programs or whatever." In fact, so we've got a beta test group right now for this current iteration of record books. One of the people that's in that came to us on Facebook, I think, and was saying, "Hey, we'd love to. I'd like to use your product more, but I got to take things out and edit it in a different software, and we need these types of files for this." So those are the types of people we invite in. We say, "Hey, you're giving us good feedback. How can we improve things? What do you see that's lacking in the industry that we can help to build and help to make more robust?" So those are the types of people that we look for. So we've got in the NAI, especially a guy like Jay Stansel, who's the assistant commissioner of the Appalachian Athletic Conference. He's great. So we hear a lot from Jay. We hear from Chris Wells, who's the assistant AD at Lindsey Wilson, former president of the NEI Sports Information Directors Association. So high level people that have a lot of experience, that have been doing this for a long time. And we try to get people with technical backgrounds too, people that do this that kind of build their own stuff. And we say, how can we make our products better to help serve everybody? So a long way of saying there's a lot of great people out there that we get in touch with quite a bit. Donnie Smith was another one of those, but he's moved on to D1. But you can bet we'll be calling him as soon as we start breaking into the D1 space.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good place to start. And a lot of great names that you mentioned. Jay, Donnie, two guys I've got a chance to work with. Jay at the NAIA softball World Series the last 4 years now. Brad, you said earlier in the interview you acknowledged the history of Presto, and there's a new regime. You part of that, finishing up your first year. Talk to me about that group of leadership at Presto Sports, your role in it, and how they're leading Presto into a really positive era in its industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it all starts with our president, Marilyn Cox. So Marilyn was brought on from our old holding company. And for those that have kind of followed us a little bit, we've broken away from our holding company for good reason. There was a lot of good things and positive things that have allowed us to be a lot more nimble in what we've done. And I think people probably subconsciously have seen the effects of that, of us being able to change things a little bit more rapidly, or actually much more rapidly. But Marilyn brings with her a ton of experience in the tech world and a real understanding of what people go through in our industry. When she first started, she was very good at trying to listen. Everything was about listening. What are the issues? And as we've gone forward, she's gotten a real sense of those issues and she's really attacked it. She's made those critical priorities for our company to make sure that we attack, we address, and then we can get to the fun stuff, like I said, right? So it all starts with her and she leads our group really well. And then we've another big person to mention is Josh Fowler, who's our vice president of product and development. Without Josh, I don't know where we would be right now, but he came in as part of this new regime and really helped to adjust how we were doing things. He got into our system when he came in and said, there's a lot of changes that need to be made. I need space to be able to make all these changes to make this work better. And he has. On the back end, he's converted all the file types to a different file type that loads 10 times faster, a lot less space, but the end result to the user is the pages load fast. That's all anybody cares about. So Josh has made that a priority. But the good thing about him is that he understands sports. And he's one of those people that really gets it. He listens to a lot of SIDs and then he thinks outside the box. Well, how can I make that work? How can I do that? And then he does it. Record books was a prime example of that. It was something we were talking to an SID about 6, 7 months ago. Josh came out of what we were talking about with that person and went out and created this huge product. So these are the types of people we need, right? And these are the types
Correct.
of people we have on our leadership team. And not only leadership, it's throughout the company. We've got people like Nick McCutcheon, who's former NAI SID. We've got SIDs throughout it. We've got good support people who really understand the product and a good stable group of support folks now. I'm really excited about the trajectory of where we're going. So I think a lot of people focus on the past, and that's fine. No issues there. But what I'm trying to focus on is what is our future? And that's what we're trying to show people is like, this is not the same old thing that you've seen. So we want to show people what that new side is.
Well, I think you have to have a sort of or a sense of fairness when you look at the past of an organization and the future of an organization. I mean, we're not here to talk NAI ball or anything. I think we all know the history. They've obviously done a great job, but there's history there with them and then AI. And then you look at what the future looks like with new faces and that and everything and what they can do to cover NAI baseball, obviously hoping for the best. You look at how I started with essentially Barstool Sun Conference and what it's turned into. And of course, big tip of the cap to Donnie Smith and you in that regard and where it's come from. And you look at Presto and this new regime, this future, we all want it to be positive. It's essential. You talk about revamping the live stats, the record book, making it faster. I can't tell you how many times Carly and I've been taking notes over the last couple of years, and it's like we can go one place and it loads like that, and we go somewhere else and it takes 2 minutes to load one player's bio, and it's like this sucks. And so
Mhm.
for y'all to be find one just recognizing this in the first few months, for year of this regime, moving forward on it, getting it rolling in the right direction and into the future. I mean, y'all are cleaning up the little things and then adding on. One thing I wanted you to elaborate a little bit more on, Brad, is the live stats side of things, how that's looking a little bit different. Because I think everybody's very accustomed to what they see when they pull up the stats. Is it going to look fairly similar? Like when I go and check the score of Oregon Tech, Eastern Oregon, or whatever, is it going to look kind of similar? Or is it going to be a little bit different, maybe more like what we see in the championships? Just kind of what's that going to look like so that fans are going to be able to navigate that once the season, starts up?
Yeah, absolutely. So, one of the big things that we've been working on, and we've it's taken a little bit of a backseat, but not much, is our live stat display. And the first one of those that's going to be coming out of the gate is going to be baseball, softball. And I've seen the wireframe mock-ups of it, and it looks just dynamic. I think you would see that as a cross between probably what you've seen in the championships for the NAIA this year and what you see on MLB.
Okay.
So it's going to be really nice. Going to be a little bit more of a branded atmosphere. It's going to give you a lot more data. Great for broadcasters. I know I was talking to Jay Sansel. We were talking about him a little bit ago, and he goes, "You know what? It'd be great if it can show like every single pitch, ball, strike, ball, and you know how many pitches that every
Yes.
pitcher throwing in at a bat. That's huge." Well, and I was like, yeah, I'll tell him. Then I went and looked at the wireframes and it already had it in there, of course, because Josh is brilliant. So these are the types of things we're looking at. So, and that should give you an idea of where we're getting our influences to, is we're not just trying to come up with it off the cuff. We're looking at best practices around the country and trying to make a better product globally. So that's going to be fun. Now, I don't know when that's going to drop. My guess is it's not going to be in time for next season.
Okay.
But it's one of those things that I think it's important to know that we're addressing. That is, we're working through. We're trying to get that off the ground. So that's a big piece of one thing we want to bring to people. Once we get that done, that'll be kind of proof of concept for the rest of our live stats. So there's going to be a lot of changes that are going to be coming in the next year or two with some of that. The other thing I want to mention is that, especially for baseball, softball, because it's such a big sport, and softball specifically, I think you notice they have all those categories on the stat drop downs, extended hitting, extended pitching, all that stuff. There were like 9 or 10. Um, we had to do that in order to get pages to load faster, so we had to segment it. Now that we have all this stuff done on the back end, you notice today on the NAI stat site, all that's pretty much gone. And now it's
Thank
maybe
God.
3 or 4 categories, and you can scroll, find exactly what you need.
That's incredible. Is definitely one of the things, just from what Carly and I try to do when we're trying to get, all right, who's leading in this, and we're clicking through and going to opening 20 different pages, just simplifying it. I mean, that's massive. I I don't I can't speak for other podcasters, NAI and everything like that, but that right there is big news for us. She's going to be very happy about that. We are very happy about that. But Brad, first year in Presto, man, 1 year removed from NAI. Do you miss it?
Well, I mean, I'm wearing NAI gear right now. Yeah, I mean, I will say this year, not being at any championships was different for me. It was the
Yep.
first time, that I was getting a little FOMO. But I mean, it's yes and no. I miss the student athletes. I miss the camaraderie with coaches and players and people like yourself. Uh, I think the travel for me was a lot, but they've got so many good people at the NEI National Office that love to travel, that are really good at this stuff. Um, I'm excited to see what they're going to do in the future. And as soon as they hired Steve Wilson, I was elated. Steve and I go way back. He's an old friend. Yeah, and he's already doing some cool stuff. So I miss being there, miss seeing some of the people that I've seen a lot of, but I kind of love what I do now. I mean, it's great to be able to do something that you love every day consistently and not have a few things that like maybe I didn't love to do. So now it's just kind of everything that I love.
And you kind of finished on top, if you will. I mean, in Las Vegas, about a year ago today, you got the Ike Pearson Award, the Lifetime Achievement, obviously, for all the phenomenal stuff you've done in sports information and in athletics, both at the national office and at Missouri Baptist. I mean, what did that honor mean to you to kind of cap off your career in the NAIA, for now at least?
Well, it was fantastic. I'll still tell you I don't think I deserve that award. There are so many deserving people out there, but that is an award that means a lot to anyone who spent a lot of time in the NAI. And of course, that means a lot to me. And I saw Steve win it years ago, and Jay has won it, and now we get a chance to go out and celebrate Donnie. He's winning it this year. So,
Nice.
and I'm actually giving I'm actually introducing him for that. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, that was special. And as Donnie put it to me, he goes, of all people to win it in Las Vegas, it's you, of course. So, but it was so much fun. It was a great honor to get it. But uh, it really just affirms that what you did made a difference to student athletes, to people in the industry. And, it doesn't mean you're great at what you do. It means it made a difference in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, obviously my time in the NAI is short-lived, but I've certainly thought of you as an influential person and a big help, just again for me and NAI SB. So it was cool just being there and getting to see you get that award and having a pretty fun time in Vegas, obviously. Was a lot of fun. Brad, looking at the NAI and direction it's going, I stepped in to start covering NAI softball after the 2022 World Series for a few different reasons. The main one was I fell in love with the game of softball. Other aspects of it, I was wanting to get a start in sports media. Now, did I think at the time that I started, would this be something that I now plan on doing for 20 plus years with covering NAI softball? Not necessarily, but it certainly turned into that. And a reason for that, and a small reason for why I started, but it's grown more, is I've become a big fan of the NAI in general. The way the company itself, it is a company at the end of the day, the way it is run, the way I look at the direction of college athletics, and whether you're a fan or not a fan, I know you with Presto Sports, you don't want to say one thing about NAI versus NCAA or anything like that. But from my point of view, I love the NAI. I love the direction it has, the amateurism aspect of it. And now we're seeing, as we talked about, the viewership, the eyes. Just looking at what Urban Edge did again, I think that is a partnership, and I hope they continue with conferences. We have big things again to announce with them, but going back to it, I think there is a boom that I don't think it's about to happen. I think it's currently happening in the NAI. It just so happened NAISB gets started around the time that softball, the game itself, is blowing up, and we just happen to be caught in a really nice storm. My question though, Brad, NAI direction it's going, where do you see the NAI going, and how is it going to continue down
Excuse me.
this you're good, bless you. How is NAI going to continue to build on this momentum as someone now that obviously has a lot of love for the NAI, did a lot with the NAI, but is now kind of on the outside looking in at it?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm always going to have a media spin on it. I think it all comes down to how they promote their product and what is happening in that department, in the athletic communications department, is critical because the biggest piece of the NAI that I've always seen has been how you promote student athletes, number one, and how you promote the actual championships and games that are going on. You know, taglines are great, other types of campaigns are great, but it's all about the action on the field and celebrating those actions. And that's where you live, right? You're not worried
Yeah.
about, the Champions of Character program as good as the Champions of Character program is, and as special of a thing that that is, but that's not what gets eyeballs. What gets eyeballs is how we promote those types of things. And I think they're really going in the right direction. They're starting to take notice of how the athletics communicators are doing their things and what they can do differently and trying to arm them a little bit better. So when I look at what Steve is doing and what we started before I left with Urban Edge and the NAIA network, which is run by a company called Mosaic, and they do a great job too. But making those broadcasts free, big piece of it.
Yes.
Now that you have the brand out there for free, what can you do with that? So now it's all about what are you going to do with those eyeballs? It's telling stories. It's telling stories about how you can succeed in the NAIA and have a great collegiate career, and whether you're going to go on and play pro softball or you're going to go on and have a career in marketing or branding or as a nurse or doctor or whatever it is, you can do that. And it's all about telling that story, right? I think the NAIA trajectory is great. They're doing really good stuff. They're focused on the right types of schools to bring in. Um,
Yes.
Unfortunately, it's just, and it's part of the business. When you add, you also lose some schools too. You lose some schools to closing. And that's always really tough. I mean, we've seen it the last several years. Um, you lose schools going to what they perceive to be a bigger product in the NCAA. Totally fine. That's what your school wants to do. That's totally fine. But the NEI is finding ways to counteract that and bring in new people. They're bringing in schools that are transitioning from junior college to NAI to four-year schools. That's important. These are student athletes that have not been at that level before that are going to have a chance to really play and compete at a different level. So I think it's exciting. I like seeing what they're doing from a media perspective, from social media. They're doing a
I'm interested to see. I don't have the numbers. I'm not going to stop and look at them right now. I'm interested to see how the championship numbers at Division Two compared to the NAIs when it's all said and done with baseball, baseball, softball. I believe I saw track and field was about 500,000 or so on Urban Edge for the NAI. I'm interested to see how those compare because you mentioned schools they perceive NCAA Division Two as perhaps a bigger brand or a bigger product. And again, I have my own thoughts on the direction of the NCAA. It is happening much quicker than I thought. I used to say in 10 years the SEC and the Big Ten would break away. That looks like it grows closer every day. I mean, just hearing Greg Sankey kind of just starting to put his pinky toe in the water on it a little bit. And I just find it interesting to see how the NCAA will adapt to that. But again, we're not here to overly worry about that.
yeah.
What do you think about that
I,
though?
I mean, with that, it's hard to me. That's apples and oranges for the sole reason that it's a paid model versus a free model because the
Sure.
NCAA has a contract with I believe D2 with Flow Sports, and so they're doing everything in a paid model. Um, Actually, the NCAA is going the opposite direction that the NAI is. They're going to more of a paid model for their championships when it had been free. NAI is going the other way. So it's interesting to me to see how they're both positioning in different ways. So there's obviously now a divide in terms of like what your product benefits are. You know, if you're going to be in NCAA school, this is what we do here. NAI school, this is what we do here. So I don't know that we have enough data yet to say who's right and who's wrong. I think it's all about what you're looking for. NAIA, from their membership perspective, and we saw this in surveys that we saw for the last year or so before I left, was the student athletes want to feel big time. And I think
Yes.
the Urban Edge deal really helped that, right? I mean, wouldn't you say that being able to be seen by more eyeballs would feel more big time?
Well, I mean, that's what I tell one to answer your question. Absolutely. I mean, if I was playing NAI softball and I don't know, again, I really have no idea how many people were watching the 2019 or 2021 World Series or anything like that, but I see nearly 900,000 tuned in for a 19 game stretch. I and if I'm a coach, I'm using that as a recruiting tool. I tell coaches if you want to, and if you have a girl that you're recruiting or young woman that you're recruiting that is looking at a small division 1, is looking at a division 2, and it's like that's something that interests them, like having that exposure. We're the #1 college softball podcast. We did over 7 million views on social media since January 28th when we started season 3 of coverage. Use that because there's not one for D2. Should there be? I think if somebody took the NAISB model and did it for Division 2 or did it for even mid-major Division 1, it'd be pretty daggum successful.
Yeah.
But I mean, we grind. I mean, Carly, Connor, everybody in our organization, because we're at the point where this is no longer just, okay, hey, we're having fun. It's grow the game, it's cover it, it's promote it. It's like, oh no, there's something here. There is
Mhm.
something here with the product of NAIA softball, not what we're doing. Now we got to execute correctly. We have to be consistent with episodes, have engaging interviews, have good content. And that's why we're doing the AUSL coverage. That's going to be good, engaging content. So everything we do, Brad, with NAISB, if it ends up being profitable, great. But that can't be our driving factor because you know how this all started. I mean, you watched it from Suncast to this.
Mhm.
The message we came up with when NAISP was started was grow the game. I mean, first
Mhm.
video, first graphic, everything was grow the game of NAI softball. I guess that's like the kind of parentheses part of NAI softball. So if we do anything that doesn't go back to that message, whether it's covering a professional league, whether it's getting involved with travel ball through doing camps or tournaments or other things that we're taking the direction of NAISB, we're going to eliminate it.
Mhm.
If it's content that's not promoting, again, this is something I love the NAI doing, the right way to play. I love that initiative. I love the message of it. So if we're doing that, and I told Brant McCall at the national office, and everybody like, let us know what we can do to help because it goes back to it. We want to do everything in our power to grow the NAI, to grow the brand of NAI softball and NAI SB. Because and it's something that NAI has done a really good job, and I think other institutions in NAI do a good job. When you're on the field, it is Team A versus Team B for sure. But when you're outside of that, you just don't see it. I'll give you a great example. I was up at Indiana Wesleyan for um, help me out, opening round. I was up there for the opening round.
Great school.
Phenomenal school. Obviously, they do a great job. Okay. Coaches meeting day before. Coaches got to go up to their office. They have a meeting, all that good stuff. I woo softball players. They reach out. They talk to the other players on the team and say, "Hey, we're going to do a group get together. We're going to get to know each other better. Do a Bible study." And it was phenomenal. They invited me. I got to go out there and they split it up. It was started off just one big group of about 100 or so NAI softball players. And then when the senior leader stepped up, and said, "All right, hey, we're going to break up into groups, kind of get one or two from each team." So you had two Reinhardt players talking with two Rio Grande players and a Coastal Georgia player and a Madonna player and a Indiana Wesleyan player. They get to know each other for 15, 20 minutes. Then they break off, big group, talk some more, sing some songs to go. It was awesome. And it's like there's stories like that all over the NAI. I'll give you another one. We've talked about this one on podcasts a couple times, but saw at the World Series this past year. Ayla Davies just got named NAI Pitcher of the Year,
Yeah, I was just reading
MVP.
that this morning.
Incredible. I mean, just incredible stuff from her. I mean, freshman casual 71 strikeouts, breaking the World Series record.
She's
But
starting to remind me of Sophie Williams when she broke
she
in.
uh, very similar. Or I tell you, so here's the story. So she gets done 9 inning game against Marion, throws 140 pitches, and to me, it kind of like, all right, maybe that was her wall. Maybe I mean, she looked gassed. You have Annalise Jarvis, who has obviously made a name for herself, 2023 Pitcher of the Year, 4-time All American or 3-time All American. Well, surely 4-time now, but anyways, she goes up to her, senior to a freshman. Hey, fist bump, good job. Gave her a bottle of water, keep it up. I'm like, that's what it's about. That's the right way to play. And you see that with girls that have never seen. I mean, you're talking about Georgia Gwinnett and Southern Oregon, never, I mean, just so happened next day they play each other. I think it's really cool, man. I love this league. I love what it's all about. But yeah, but hey, looking at for you and your time and getting into all this, what made you want to get into sports information, to get into the athletic communications in general? What kind of led you into that when you were, I don't know, in high school, college? What's the Brad Cygan origin story is essentially the
Good
question.
Lord. Oh man, I'm gonna put people to sleep. It was crazy. So I was in college and I went to Southeast Missouri State in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. Nice little D1 school down there. And I was a PR major and just going through everything there, not quite knowing what I wanted to do. And we had a speaker that was worked in sports. I'm like, oh, that'd be awesome. I'd love to do that. But not quite knowing exactly what I wanted to do. So, not surprisingly, I think to people that know me, I was probably not the best collegiate student ever, but I was a much better grad student. Just as a heads up. But as I was going through, I went to see my internship advisor, and she said, because I told her, I'm like, oh, I'm planning on doing my internship overseas. I put a request in because they're doing this Missouri London program thing, and I wanted to go over there. I could have worked at the BBC and do some of that. And she tells me, your GPA is not or good enough to do it off campus. You have to do it on campus. This is February before I graduated. February. So I'm like, what am I going to do? And she said, I called down to the sports information office. The SID there, Ron Hines, is waiting to meet you. I went down there. I ran down there and I'm like, I got to get this internship set up because I got to get these hours done. And he said, yeah, I'd be happy to have you. We'll give you enough hours. Me not knowing anything about sports information, had no idea what he meant about, yeah, we got plenty of hours to give you.
I
So
bet.
it really just undersold it. So, but as he's talking to me, he goes, "Have you ever done any PA work?" And I'm not knowing anything. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, "Public address, like at a game." And I'm like, "No, never." And he goes, "You got a good enough voice." He goes, "First thing, here, take this script. Come back to the Show Me Center tonight at like 5:30. Women's game starts at 6." And I said, "Okay." So I guess I'm doing public address for the women's basketball game, which by the way had about 2,000 people at.
Oh boy.
And never done it before in my life. I was so bad that people were booing me. Booing. It was that bad. And I had people coming down to me at halftime going, "What's your problem, man? What are you doing?" And I'm like, "I've never done this before. I don't know anything." And then they were starting to kind of motivate me and I started getting into it as we went on. Still a far cry from good, but a lot better than when I started in the second half and in the third and fourth quarter. And it ended up being okay. But that was my first foray into it. Um, I went out after college and got into advertising, got into some sales stuff, and just always was kind of thinking back about sports info. So I'd been laid off at a job and went back to get my marketing or my master's degree and got a grad assistantship. And I was like 29 years old. I was old for that type of thing, and ended up being the GA Sports Information Director at Old Lindenwood Belleville, right before they came into the NAIA, if you remember them. Um, and was taking classes at the Lindenwood campus, who's now D1.
Mhm.
Driving back to Belleville, Illinois, which is about an hour away, and doing my grad assistantship. And that's where it started. And then after that year, my grad assistantship was over. I graduated and got hired at Missouri Baptist and was there for almost 7 years, and it was a really special time. Had a chance to do a lot of great stuff, and never saw the success their softball team saw this year. I'll tell you that right now. To come just this close from beating Oklahoma City, as much as I respect Oklahoma City and Phil and everybody there, but it was exciting to see him. I think you and I were talking when
Yep.
the in the seventh inning of that game, and it
Yeah.
was wild.
No, I was very, very high on Missouri Baptist coming into this year. I marked them as, hey, them and Evangel. I remember that with two non-top 25 teams, like they could make the World Series. And Oklahoma City fans certainly let me hear it in Columbus for picking the Spartans to make it. Like, are we in your top 10 now? Like, yes, you are. Sure are. But yeah, no, I mean, yeah, they had a great year. I mean, won what 45, 46 ball
Yeah.
games. Got to see them up close in Shawnee. They had a great showing out there. They returned a pretty good bit of their production. I think Coach Ted's done a really good job. And they have a much tougher challenge. With all due respect to the AMC, they're going to step into the heart of America. So you'll have Baker, and then go to Benedictine, and then Central Methodist, and then Park, and oh yeah, Grandview just finished fifth or sixth overall at the World Series this year. Have fun. But no, they're phenomenal, phenomenal team. I know that was a little heartbreaking for you to see them come oh so close to booking a trip to Columbus.
Yeah, it was so much fun to see him succeed at that level. And honestly, you're right. They're going to need to succeed at that level going into the heart. That is a bear of a conference, and there's nowhere to hide anywhere in the heart. And they're going to get a challenge every single day. And softball, absolutely. Baseball is going to be the same thing.
Yep.
There's kind of not going to be much place to hide for Coach Hushel and Coach Grazer there. But yeah, I mean, it's so much fun seeing that school that I put a lot of hard work and dedication into really find a lot of success at this point in that program. Um,
And
I'm
another
excited to see what
program
they
with
do.
a really good social media presence. When you look at MBU athletics on social media, they do a really good job engaging with accounts and promoting their athletes. They do a phenomenal job of that.
Yeah, Tyler's great. He worked for me for a little bit while I was there and went around, came back, and now he's the director there. And he does such a good job. And they've got great media there. Their streams are really really good.
Yep.
We worked really hard on kind of building infrastructure for that. But yeah, great school. I'm excited that they're going to get a lot more notoriety being in a bigger conference like the Heart. So
Mhm.
I'm excited to see what they do.
This will be a big conference. They had William Woods too. I think they're up to like 16 teams in the heart of America.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be crazy. And there's a reason they have divisions in that conference. It'll be
Yes.
wild.
Kind of the super conference of the NAIA, if you will, with the heart, which I know
Boy,
that's
Nick Rule's got a big job as the commissioner of that conference.
yes, he is. Very energetic guy's got a great vision, and I'm excited to see what them and like you mentioned, uh, uh, Mike with Southern States and what that's going to look like with Urban Edge again. But Brad, just wrapping things up here, man. Appreciate your time. Great interview, great little summer content for our fans, and I'm sure there's a lot of SIDs and athletic administration that have enjoyed this and hearing from Presto. Just anything you would like to wrap up with, just out of Presto, what's coming, and what fans should be expecting. Kind of recapping what we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, with the record books, we're going to see a lot more about that next week. We're really excited about that. All the changes that we've got coming up with some of our products. And most of your fans are big softball fans, but we're finally starting to do some of our 2.0 stat entry products. So football is going to be the next piece of that. That comes out this fall. We're really excited for people to start being able to use that and show that off a little bit. But yeah, things are happening rapidly here, and I know I can always talk to you and run things off of you, but I just want to say thank you to you and your whole team. You guys do such a great job. I love being able to follow along what's going on. Uh, I don't have a chance to get as invested as I used to when I was at the NAI national office. But you guys make it easy. I can go follow an AISB, and it's so much easier for me to kind of keep an eye on what's going on and know who the right players are and who's having great seasons. So I appreciate you and everything your team does.
Yes, sir. And again appreciate you. I mean, early on, uh, early. I don't. This does not have to. I did tell you this. This does not happen if you don't have me there to cover the World Series for the Sun Conference teams in 22. I mean, I've gotten very I would say I've gotten more comfortable with saying how this route has increased my faith with the Lord and the divine intervention, and you're a part of that, of having me be there and learn what SID even stood for, and the little things in it that just been blessed to be a part of. It's a wonderful league. You are absolutely right. We have a great team. I mean, headed by Carly and Connor, not to even mention people that come and help throughout the season. But Connor, Carly, and I, we have a vision for covering this league, promoting the league, and we're going to adapt. We're going to get better, and I cannot wait for 2026. As big of a year as 2025 was, I think we're going to take another big step forward next year. And obviously the Invitational, which I mean, would love to have Presto be involved for the 2026 Invitational in some facet. I'm sure we'll discuss that off air
Yeah, absolutely.
at some point. But my man Brad, I appreciate you. Hopefully it's cleared, the weather's cleared up a little bit. We go outside. It looks like it's about to start coming down here in Florida. Good old Mother Nature. It's gonna be a fun hurricane season down here in the Sunshine State. But hey, again,
Oh,
appreciate you, man. You have a wonderful day, and everybody tuning in. Appreciate you tuning in. We will be back. We're gonna be talking some more AUSL, some pro softball very shortly.